let's talk about some radishes, shall we? I actually realised something, folks, that I never really fully explained why I chose to put Raditz on a pedestal on this channel. And by the way, folks, episode 8 of R&R is in production. The artwork is complete, we're going through the voice work, and we shall hopefully have it out by the end of the year. What if Raditz turned good? That is pretty much one of the stories which is synonymous with this channel. Maybe What If Gine and What If Frieza Turned Good being other examples of things, but I'm not here to toot my own horn here, folks. I'm providing you some sort of justification or explanation as to why Raditz is so near and dear to me. And it all stems from two reasons which long predate the actual advent of the series on this channel back in April 2017. The first one being that I played Raditz all the time in the video games. I remember one distinct memory of Tenkaichi 2, which is actually my favourite Dragon Ball fighting game from back in the day. Of course, Fighters and Kakarot are very, very good games in of themselves, but growing up, Tenkaichi 2 was my jam. And you could level up the characters in a story mode. And I remember leveling up Raditz to level 65, and yes, I know that was a missed opportunity. I was just 4 levels out, dang it. And just tanking Piccolo in 2 hits. Every single character in that story. Just nearly one-shotting them, getting them out, tanking them. It was brilliant. It was so much fun. Taking the quote-unquote weakest Z character and making them an absolute behemoth. That sort of evolved into something that came along with DBZA. One of my brother's friends actually was a fan, and I remember doing a voice request for her wedding as Goku. And the connection there being is that she called my brother Raditz because he's taller than me. He's like a good 6'7", 6'8" or something like that. And he had, at the time, long hair. Obviously, I voiced Goku in TFS, and my brother is taller and older, so Raditz, there you go. So that's what she would call him. That was always something that lingered in the back of my mind, and I sort of liked the idea of giving characters just a chance to do something better. If you go back through the Dragon Ball What If playlist, it's the second long-form series that I ever did, the first one being What If Kid Goku went Super Saiyan. That was sort of one of my reasons why I did the What Ifs back in the day, to think of things that had never really been done, or never really explored as far as I could see. Now there are loads of them, which is great, and I always welcome people to try and have a go at storytelling themselves, and coming up with different interpretations. And if you want to do a story that I've previously done on this channel, go for it. I do not lay any claim to any story. No What If is exactly the same, unless you're straight up copying it, which is something you should not do. But Have and I, we encourage you to have a go at trying something out, like What If Zamasu Turned Good? Or Did Nothing Wrong? Or What If Gine? What If Frieza? Have a go for yourself. I like the idea of people telling stories because it's something that human society has always done. Just an extension of what has been ingrained into our minds. So give it a go. Just have a try. But back to Raditz, though. With the first couple of stories that I did with What If Senzu Beans never existed, or What If Piccolo and Kami fused earlier, it was sort of unlocking something that Dragon Ball had never really explored. I wanted to try and keep things to the notion that, well, what if Toriyama got up differently one day, and since he likes to write by the seat of his pants, wrote something different, or drew something different for the manga. But naturally, as we've evolved and gained experience and wanting to try and experiment, we've sort of adapted things as we go along, and the Tournament of Power is always something that we dread, and we try and find creative ways in which to either avoid it or change it up so it makes it interesting. After doing the first couple of parts of What If Kid Goku went Super Saiyan, I realised that I could do the same with Raditz here. Kid Goku going Super Saiyan is something that in theory was entirely possible because Goku was unlike any other Saiyan that had previously lived, and yes, the power level at the time was relatively small. There were stronger Saiyans out there, but if the right catalyst occurred, and with the human exposure of Kid Goku, and emotion and rawness, and not to mention his best friend passing thanks to Tambourine, there was the catalyst there in which for it to happen. It was certainly a lot better than Bardock's one in episode of Bardock, even though most people don't like to talk about that special, but that's besides the point. I wanted to do something that felt natural to him, because Raditz is unlike any other Saiyan that we've ever seen. And it really sort of was quite jarring, especially since he was the first ever Saiyan that we saw. Apart from Goku, obviously, but we didn't know he was a Saiyan until literally Raditz telling him. Raditz is quite resourceful. He's a very slippery character who is out for survival. Unlike most other Saiyans we grew to know about, he wanted to protect his own skin. He was quite cunning and wily. He would come up with ways to try and wriggle himself out of a problem. Hence why the way he turned good was all to do with him trying to save his own filthy life. And he knew, obviously, that Vegeta and Nappa would never take him back in if he scurried away, because he probably had done that before, because there is quite a big power gap between himself and Nappa, and obviously Vegeta would have had pretty much little patience for him, minimal patience. Did you see what he did with Nappa when he outlived his usefulness? Well, he stopped the living. That's what he did. So who's to say he would have done the same thing with Raditz had he gone scurrying back with this little kind of crazy story, which Kakarot, by the way, actually explored a little more, which I absolutely commend, which is fantastic, to provide extra reasoning for why Raditz went to Earth. And I know that he was only around for about 5 episodes, but that sort of gave me carte blanche in which to do it, because there was so little going. There was very little to tread on the toes of. So you get less people going, oh, Raditz wouldn't do that. How would you know that Raditz would do that? I don't know. Nobody knows. All we know is that he's a bit of a sneak. He is out for his own sorry hide. He's a bit of a coward, but he's also, and he's the brother of the main character. There are so many things going for him which we sort of had cut short for us. So why not just go in there and add some more things to it based on what we already know? I know it may seem like I'm rambling, but I'm providing you my absolute reason why I love Raditz's character so much, because there was so little. And precisely the point as to why people do tend to get a little bit shirty with all the Raditz love because he only was a tool. Yeah, of course he was a tool. Most characters are tools. That's how stories evolve. Even the main characters are tools in which to progress the plot. Dragon Ball likes to progress the story, normally, because it was one of the few series out there, especially back in the 80s, which saw the characters grow up. Toriyama was really gambling with the series when he evolved Goku into a grown-up. In fact, the editors at the time were really against this. Not having the tail, not having Goku as a kid anymore. They genuinely feared that Dragon Ball would not be popular anymore if Goku was grown up. But Toriyama noticed a trick. The audience was growing up too. And now you see that a lot more in anime and manga than you did prior to that. And now we sort of become accustomed to people growing up, time skips, all of that stuff. That's why we were so wanting Goten and Trunks to age up. So I wanted to see Raditz evolve in his own way. Raditz evolving as a person. Where would he go from being a cowardly sneak? One thing I latched onto was the fact he lacked confidence. Because being the lapdog to even Nappa, you're not really going to have that much self-esteem. So you need to give that character a chance to believe in himself. I still hold him dear to my heart because he provided an outlet in a way. I'm quite a pompous, eccentric character on my good days, and if you notice in R&R and in What If Raditz Turned Good, Raditz is just a blowhard. Once you give Raditz a platform in which to grow and evolve and show that he's actually pretty good, oh, you can imagine him being an eccentric blowhard. Oh yes, I'm the great Raditz. He's full of flair, full of being loud. So when you give him that, you notice that in every other story where Raditz of mine is present. In What If Raditz Went to Earth instead of Goku, in What If Goku Defeated Roshi, Raditz is always there shouting and postulating, pontificating, all that sort of stuff. That's a connection to me. That is my contribution to Raditz's personality. And go ahead, people. If you think that Raditz is a tool that really does not deserve to be loved, the original Raditz wasn't. There wasn't really much going for it. But people like to add their own stamp to something that they love. And that's what I wanted to do. Since there was very little in terms of presence for Raditz, I wanted to add my own little kind of signature, as it were, to a character. They have OCs, they make fan stories about characters that they like. I'm just doing more of the same and providing something that provides me a little bit of pride. And he's also very fun to write, and I think that's what I was trying to go for back in the day, just to provide some extra context, some extra substance. So as you see him evolve, especially in the earlier stories, just give him that thought of, hey, you are the brother of Kakarot. And Kakarot's got something special. He's also the legendary Super Saiyan. Much like Cooler in Super Dragon Ball Heroes, well, if my brother can do it, then so can I. There's no stopping Raditz being really, really strong, because he is the son of Bardock also. He is the brother of Kakarot. So there is a chance for him to be pretty good, at the very least, if he just had the chance to thrive, the chance to be his own person. Give Raditz, who's been very neglected, the chance to be free, to be someone, to bond with his brother. Partly, that's why I found the whole Bardock wish in the recent manga saga to be kind of intriguing. Without that, Raditz probably would have died even sooner. And yes, of course, if your brother wills you to be dead, then Raditz really didn't stand a Hippel's chance, really. I don't think even a wish on Trombo would even save you. Either way, thank you so much for indulging me, folks. I felt like I hadn't really explained why I started with Raditz Turning Good and why I like Raditz so much. And I really love having that connection and just giving Raditz a voice in a way and just providing more love for a character who had a lot of potential but didn't really get it. And there are so many characters out there that had a lot of potential and people feel like, oh, they should have been given more of a chance. Well, you've got a keyboard, you've got a pen. Right on, my friends.